Welcome in. I'm glad you joined the huddle tonight. This is Coach Hayes coming to you, and I love connecting fans to the fundamentals of football. It's Monday after our victory in Neyland Stadium. Kirby Smart goes in and makes Tennessee its little brother. I got the X's and O's coming at you after the break.
Georgia Sports Autographs is built by collectors for collectors. They know what fans want because they've been in your shoes. Hunting for that perfect piece, the right signature, in the right spot. At every signing, Georgia Sports Autographs make sure it's done right, using the proper ink, following best practices, and paying attention to every detail so you end up with a product you'll be proud to display. They've already worked with many of Georgia's top athletes, and their network gives them access to just about anything you can imagine. If you don't see it listed, don't assume it can't be done. Chances are they can get it for you. Georgia Sports Autograph tests themselves with every event, always improving, always delivering for the ultimate addition to your collection. Trust the team that treats every autograph like its own. Georgia Sports Autographs, where every signature tells a story.
Welcome in this evening. As you get a chance to get settled in for the Monday evening, Monday Night Football coming on, also have the opportunity to sit in here with Coach Hayes Hudl and watch a little film with me. Obviously, it's nice to see us go into such a hostile environment up in Knoxville and take this team that was a major barometer change. I had actually spoken about it prior to on Thursday, that who knew that we would be going in feeling so confident about our defense, not so confident about our offense, and yet come out of that. And I said, who knows? What if we're talking about what happened to the defense and, look at what our offense is doing? And it almost came to fruition. I do know that we are still struggling to find the offensive line type that we would like to have. We've got 2 weeks to get that ready, but there are definitely some plug and play, some key to hole that I think we're going to be getting in the process. So I want to make sure that we have all of our I's dotted and all of our T's crossed as we move into the X's and O's segment to it. And those of you who are watching along with me tonight, I hope you get the opportunity to check, because I'm going to try 2 different ways tonight to do film, and hopefully they won't have any issues with it tonight. But you guys are going to help me be the barometer for me as we go through this, because I definitely want to bring you the X's and O's. It's what I love doing. I love connecting fans to the fundamentals of football. Like to welcome in first. Looks like first person in the chat. Them Dogs is hell. Greetings, go Dogs. Very happy for our program. When I look at just the totality of the night, there was so many people that felt despair after about the first half. Even though that we made it a game 21-17 at half. We left some points on the field, I feel, and that's something that's really going to bug me as time goes on. We've got to start executing inside the 5. When we get inside the 5, we got to plug it in and get the score instead of taking the field goal. I really do think that that's something that's going to be looked upon to look at different schematics and schemes of what we're going to be doing going forward, and that's another thing that we definitely have to hit on. It was nice to see Josh McRae get in there and get some reps. I'm really interested to see what he can do down and distance-wise in normal situations instead of just ground and pound when we're just trying to get those 1 or 2 yards. He was kind of a nice asset to what we'd already seen in the 3 guys with, Phillips and Bowens and Frazier. We got a lot of things to talk about tonight. The first thing I wanted to do was address some questions and then take some questions from the chat tonight. And I'm going to go ahead and take one. I'm going to take one that we've got in the chat currently. Great game on Saturday. Would not be surprised if we see a rematch in the SEC championship or later in the playoffs. A lot of people didn't realize this. I think it was kind of a laughingstock of what happened with Nico and then bringing in Joey Aguilar, sort of trading places. But after I watched film on him against Syracuse, I really thought that he had kind of embraced Tennessee's offense. And Tennessee the offensive coordinator had really taken him in along with Josh Heupel and created sort of a systematic process for him to be successful. I knew his RPO game was strong. And like I said, they caught us off guard with a lot of things that we did in those first 3 series. In fact, I was really disappointed in sort of the loafing it seemed we were doing at times. We were barely getting lined up sometimes at the line of scrimmage. We were trying to scheme and match with them in man and zone concepts to the field and to the boundary. And it cost us because we had 1, maybe 2 out of position, and they exploited that. And those those first 3 series. But, that to me is what makes a great defense, an elite defense, and what makes your coaching staff so good is that typically you see a team go through the years and go through the season, and they will get better as they go. That's the sign of a good football team. But to me, an elite football team is someone who gets very good and processing through an actual game itself. And that's important for me to see, because when you adapt in the game and actually see the changes made to make shift, and that's the reason why as a coach, you can never be on that roller coaster that a lot of fans fit on, especially like through that second half. I was even killed watching the game, looking at what we were doing and saying, we're going to have to make some adjustments to that. We can't continue to play that zone match we're doing. And we ended up going to something that was very successful in the second half. The only exclusion was the 50-50 ball chances that we had, and where they took advantage of Ja'Cory Thomas on a wheel route from the wide side of the field into the boundary. This is the question I was going to take here, though. Coach, our backup right tackle 52 is given a great opportunity to show what he could do, yet great, gave zero effort, needs to give back his scholarship. That's pretty bad there. When I look at it from that standpoint, I mean, he's obviously a talented kid. What I have a problem with in that situation is I've already been talking about through all the breakdowns that I've done through Saturday, Sunday, and into Monday. I know right now the consistency of Juan Gaston and Ernest Green not showing the consistency due to injury issues, and then trying to play on Saturday. Ernest Green didn't look any better, and Juan Gaston only had a limited sample size of playing time. Michael Uni was not the first one I wanted to insert. By all means, Dontrell Glover and Bo Hughley had shown the most consistency through the Marshall in the Austin P game. So I don't know what happened with Bo Hughley and why he didn't get as much playing time as he should have, because you're going to notice on some of the film breakdown I do tonight, when he comes in, he's solid at the right tackle position. It's funny, he's right beside his brother there, Dontrell Glover, who both came from the same high school program of Langston Hughes. I've been speaking highly on Dontrell. I think he's one of those, I'm a guard whisperer. I have an ability to see a guard and how he pulls, how he base blocks, how he downs, how he sets his feet, how quick he looks coming out of the snap. How his explosion looks. And he was one of those, when he pulled for the first time, when I got to see him against Marshall, impressed me tremendously. I knew that he was a talented kid because he just looked the part. I was like, that's a guard that we can work with right there, because he showed the things I wanted to see on tape. And then all of a sudden, it comes in the Austin P game, he gets another opportunity, and he shows out even more. So that's what's given him the opportunity to overtake that guard position. But I'm going to give you some insight to me. Realistically, what I would love to see across the board is I would love to see, this is the way I would love to see it. Monroe Freeling at left tackle. I would love to see Michael Morris at left guard. Obviously, Drew Bobo, who's the staple of the offensive line, the best grader at this point in time, most consistent at center. And then put Dontrell Glover at right guard and move Juan Gaston out to tackle. Now, I don't know if Juan Gaston has been playing tackle. He may have been doing just guard this entire offseason going into the fall. But to me, that would be the two guys with the highest ceiling, with more room to improve than anybody, and let Ernest Green get healthy. I don't think he's healthy. I'm just going to chalk it up to that. He's too good of what he did his freshman year to what he's playing at right now, because he's not looking good. His sample size of plays on film are more inconsistent than I've ever seen, from pass pro to run blocking. He just looks like he's out of sorts right now, and I don't know what it is. Michael Uni is not the answer as well. I don't think he's really got good technique in his kick slide when he gets back, when he has to run pass pro, and he doesn't do a very good job of finishing through his blocks on run scheme. So, I mean, it's evident to me that if Juan Gaston and Ernest Green can't go, Bo Hughley and Dontrell Glover need to be the fifth there. And I agree with you there, Axe. We're not seeing the balls again. It's kind of nice ending this sort of little 9-game winning streak. Coach Smart has never known what it's like to lose to Tennessee at Neyland Stadium. That includes him as an assistant coach with Mark Richt. That includes him as an Alabama defense coordinator. That includes him as the head coach of the Georgia Bulldogs. I think he's something in the neighborhood of 11, 10-0 at Neyland Stadium. You talk about Josh Heupel and what he's done, bringing in, I think he had a 14-game winning streak that we snapped, obviously. And, the teams that he's playing, it's unique that Coach Smart has gone into Neyland Stadium the last 9 to 10 times and has never lost a game there. And, that's really impressive to see. when it comes to that style of play, considering the fact that, to me, I was in despair as we threw the ball up to London Humphreys on 4th and 6 and connect there and then get the 2-point conversion, and then the field goal is missed, and we do everything that's possible. You telling me that when you have a team that's trying to grow and get better, it couldn't have been it was the perfect cocktail. We had a 4-quarter game that we had to play to the last second plus some. We had the opportunity to lay down and give up, and we didn't. We were in a hostile environment. We know how loud and obnoxious it is in Neyland Stadium, and our guys overcame. Gunnar Stockton and offense really shut some people up. Coach Bobo, 500 yards of offense, 44 points scored. I mean, there's really not much you can say about that, and that's with a makeshift offensive line where he gets sacked 4 times. I'm honestly cannot believe the fact that we put together what we did with the fact of the way our line was blocking for almost 3 quarters. So I look at it from that perspective, just to understand going forward. We've got to look at those intangibles and just do it. We can't sit there and say, well, Michael Uni is going to come along. If Ernest Green is having the best week of practice over the next 2 weeks, he needs to go back at right tackle. But I'm going to tell you this, to me, Juan Gaston and Dontrell Glover don't need to be far behind. If anything, being inserted in to play the ones in a slot 1B for those positions over there, because they're competing like hell. They're showing the most consistency, and they're executing. I do have a couple of plays of Dontrell where he did screw up. But you know what? Out of 65, 67 something snaps total offensively that we played, Dontrell didn't have a lot. And I'm going to tell you, this small sample size Bo Hooley's in there, man. He's a freaking wall, a freaking stump. He held everything up. Nothing got by him. Nobody ran the hoop. He stood everybody up that came at him. He was essential in those last 2 series, on the one where we scored and set up for the 2-point conversion to tie the game. Looking at the Green Soldier here, Coach, how about them Dogs? How about them, my friend? And we're not going to see Tennessee again for probably 2 or 3 years. So it's kind of unique. If they don't decide to bring them in as part of the 3, we may not see Tennessee again for maybe 2 or 3 years after the rotation is concerned. Gaston has a nasty streak, may end up being one of the best we've had. He's just got to stay healthy. I would love to see him stay healthy and get a chance to go out and play a full game. He has yet to be able to play a full game. A lot of people don't realize he actually did get to play in the Tennessee game and did pretty well for the most part. In fact, I actually call him out on something he screwed up in the Marshall game, where he actually believed in his running back to take care of the play away from him on the Louis call. He was away from the call to the mic identifier and did a really good job of picking up his guy and letting the running back and trusting the running back, Dwight Phillips, to take care of his guy. I appreciate you being in the chat tonight. I want to thank Georgia Sports Autographs for sponsoring me. Roger Sutton, Sam Mathis do a phenomenal job. I just gave away some more merchandise this past week. Got that, going to be sending that out at the end of the month for all my winners. I've got some new apparel and stuff coming to the house soon, and I'll be doing some more giveaways as the year goes on. I'm really excited pairing up with these guys. They're great people. They run a great company and do a good job of what they're trying to accomplish, and they really do. I think genuinely want to help people out there and to obviously run their business the right way and do it professionally. And I can't thank them enough for partnering with me during my time with Coach Hayes Hudl. These were questions that I asked about from Twitter. I was going to throw them up on the screen here. Just look at them real quick. My first question that I got on Twitter, because like I said, going live tonight, I told them I wanted to see some questions in, so I snapped some and put them in here. Georgia fan, I'm assuming, just saying it kind of weird there. I also think Brazel's right hand has a lot to do with the outcome. Hard for 7 to jump vertically with someone pushing down on the shoulder. This is talking about the 50-50 ball where Daniel Harris is in cover 3 zone and ends up allowing his momentum to be kind of pushed into the end zone, and everybody's wanting to push off. But guys, they let them play for the most part. There was a couple of pass interference calls that went both ways. Ellis Robinson's defensive pass interference wasn't any, to me, something that was minimal compared to when Janelle Aguero intercepted the pass and they're crying about Dalen Everett. They let them play for the most part. And in my situation, I'm not going to really cry about that push off to Daniel Harris. Daniel Harris in zones, flipping his hips. He's in good position. He's just got to work to be stronger and actually put his foot in the ground. Don't worry about the wide receiver. Just play the ball like a center fielder. Put his right foot in the ground and go up and high point the ball like a rebound coming off the backboard of the rim. That's all you got to do. But instead, he kind of got caught with his momentum continually taking him to the zone. The receiver basically gives him a small tap, and that small tap of momentum takes his light rear end and just runs him right into the end zone off of his jump. He has no power in his jump because he's still drifting as he finally decides to actually jump jump up. He's over the top of that in good cushion position. He's got to put his right foot in the ground, step and plant and jump up and get the rebound. That's what you do. It's like a center fielder getting in at the high point. It's called an oski. We did it all the time as a defensive back drill, working on high point in the football. And that's something that he's got to do better and get better at, because like I said, being in position is one thing, but you got to make a play too. To start the second half, they spotted us numbers on the left for easy run yardage. Why? Honestly, I know Coach Smart said in his presser after the game that they felt like they could run the football. In fact, their run to pass breakdown was about 75-25. They wanted to run the football. And they did. What they decided to do was start running a lot of stuff to the weak side because they felt like they had advantage coming back with what they have in their personnel. I don't know if you know this or not, but zone and duo has become one of the main staples of non-gap scheme run plays. And duo is probably the number one type run in the NFL, and it's run out of so many different formations and done with so many different concepts. Typically, you're going to have a tight end and maybe even an H to the play side for strength, and then actually run away from that. You've actually also seen us running some type, it looks like split zone with the tackle pulling. That's also a type of duo play that you can run as well. It's very similar to zone, but you want to keep the tight end in the formation to run the duo because you're trying to outnumber at the point of attack and basically block everything down so inside linebackers can't scrape to the football cloudy clear. And first sign of light, the running back's taking it. So it can be play side, it can be backside. So it does look a lot like zone, but the actual schematic to it is a little bit different in how it's run. So, that was something that we tried to take advantage of as we got into the second half. And I think we were pretty successful running the football overall with Nate Frazier. Let's see, Nate had in the game, he had I don't know what he had personally in the game. I've just got his team totals here. It's something like 70. I think it was almost 80 yards on his carries. Did a real good job. There was some things that he could have actually done better as well, and he knows that as well, I'm sure, through tape and watching that through with Coach Crawford. But like I said, overall, I was pretty pleased with the three-headed monster we had. I don't know if Dwight Phillips was a little bummed up, got a little, I don't know if he got hurt or it's just something happened where we didn't see him as much as I thought we would. But on some of the runs that he was in, very successful. Again, he executes when he's in the game, runs the ball really hard. It was nice to see Josh McCray in there as well. Going to the next question here. I think it was intentional grounding too. Thoughts? This was from what I had posted. The last play from defensive scrimmage in overtime, we ran a zone blitz with Chris Cole, Ja'Cory Thomas in zone. They basically brought six-man pressure, and Joey Aguilar, we're manned up with a guy middle zone, guy over the top zone. And Joey Aguilar has nowhere to go with the football, throws it right at Chris Cole. He's not outside the tackle box. There was no receiver really in sight because both ran verts. It's a high routes. It wasn't in the intermediate zone where Chris Cole was at. And there was really nobody within 12 to 15 yards where the ball was thrown. It should have been called intentional grounding, but I would think it'd be loss of down anyway. And the 5-yard penalty, all it would have done, if anything, it would have cost a 5-yard penalty for them to have to kick the field goal from 5 yards further out instead of where they kicked it from. So it would have been nice to have that actual penalty in that situation. Let's see. I'm actually glad about not seeing the Vols anymore. I hate their fans outside of a few of them. Every fan base is tough, and I know there's a lot of people out there that hate, example, Florida. I hate Florida, but because I live in Northwest Georgia, I cannot stand Tennessee Vol fans because I deal with them so much. I don't deal with Florida fans up here in Northwest Georgia. I deal with some, not many. But there's a hatred I have for the Gators when we play them just because of what they did to us through the 90s. I had to live through the 90s and the Steve Spurrier years. So there's definitely a hatred for the Gators. But I'm telling you, man, when you live up here with a bunch of Tennessee fans, you really find it very hard to cope with some of these guys because they definitely do not live in a real world, it seems. And just like always, we saw through Twitter and the timelines going crazy about refs not making calls and, got out coached in the last few minutes. That's football. That's why you play 4 quarters and then some in our case for this game on Saturday, but you never quit. You never give up the opportunity. You play to the last, whistle sound and you give yourself a chance, man. I mean, you think about it. We were basically 3 plays away. The play to London that basically seals the deal to bring us within 2. The real nice play call on the 2-yard line to run the extra 2-point conversion to Zachariah, them to miss the field goal, and for us to take the opportunity defensively to stop them and turn around offensively to score. It's really nice to see Nate kind of coming off that edge over there on the left-hand side, reminiscent of what we saw in the Rose Bowl with Sony Michel. It would have been nice if Nate could have taken it to the house and just ended it right there, but Josh McCray finalized that deal for us. Next question. Is 20 the best we have at that position? What he's talking about is a reply to a video that I put on X about where Tennessee did a great job. It was a chess match, man. I really like what Josh Heupel offensively did and what the offensive coordinator agreed to do. They knew we were going to match up with them in certain situations, so they ran basically a cross identifier where the backside safety has to match with a guy coming from the opposite side of the field, and it worked for them. They were able to have an explosive play for an intermediate out that drug all the way across the field that converted to first down, and coordinator and of course Heupel got together and said, listen, we need to run that again, but this time let's wheel him up the sideline. Ja'Cory takes a very bad angle on that one, and that's the one they score down the left-hand side in the back left end zone, and Ja'Cory just takes a bad angle. Again, watch film, get better, take better angles, understand that, because that's what they're talking about when you run zone match, and all of a sudden you're in better shape. That's just getting practice. That's getting more reps at that and getting better at it. I think Kyron Jones and both Ja'Cory Thomas are going to have to be fits there. Zion Branch, we saw what he did in earlier games, and Austin P and Marshall did some good things, but obviously he didn't get a chance to do anything in the Tennessee game. I really think they're hanging their hat with Ja'Cory and Kyron to be that veteran leadership that they need, and they're just going to have to grow and get better just like everybody else is. But what a great barometer for the game. And then lastly here, last question. Great breakdown as always. Do you think they'll keep 73 at right guard just because of the risk at right tackle, and could be potentially create more quarterback pressure off the edges and interiorly? Without a doubt. I mean, right now it's basically a crapshoot on what they're going to do in rotating the offensive line. Worst case scenario, I think if Green is healthy and continues to produce like he's doing, Searles is going to have to do some soul searching. As much as you want to play Green, if Gaston is getting it done, if Bo Hughley is getting it done, then I say you play the best. It's going to help you win ball games. That you're going to keep Gunner in a situation that makes him more solidified in pass pro and not wanting to run for his life after a 2.5 second window. Like I said, I've already told you my offensive line stats, but I mean, it's really going to be if Ernest Green is hurt and he's trying to play hurt, then he doesn't need to be playing. We need to be looking at what we can do with Juan Gaston, Bo Hughley, and Dontrell Glover in any of those rotations in that situation, and just go from there, because one of those three can be a rotator at either guard or tackle, and I would love to see one of those two end up just taking that position completely and it just being a starter. Think about it. Daniel Calhoun, where's he at? He was penciled in as a starter through the spring, into the summer, going into the fall. And all of a sudden, Juan Gaston takes over for him. And then Juan gets hurt, and you don't even hear about Daniel Calhoun anymore. That, to me, is how things happen in football, guys, and how practice evolves itself, and how you see people grow up and mature. And you see just great things happen, things you can't even speculate about. We never would have thought Dontrell Glover and Bo Hughley were going to be looking at these guys that we're talking about, the consistency we're getting from those guys. It's definitely a blessing. I'm going to play a little I have this down further in the segment here, but I'm going to play a little segment here from Coach Smart on him talking about Dontrell Glover and what he feels like he has contributed to the team thus far.
Oh yeah, I mean, geez, a freshman guard coming in here and playing. I mean, incredible. I don't know how he played. They were saying one of the runs that we thought we should have scored on, we kept having to kick field goals in the red area. One of them they had a run through. They said was his, but I mean, he didn't come mid-year. Like, this guy shows up, and it played on a great high school program, well coached, really well coached offensive line, and walks in and just starts playing, and he's natural, picking things up. I mean, where would we be without him right now? He has been a blessing for us. We got to get Juan healthy too.
So, that's the reason why I said when I look at, Bo Hughley and Dontrell Glover, both Langston Hughes alumni, played at the same high school. It's kind of unique that those two are coming along at the same time. It's very important that Coach Smart, understands that, knows that. Coach Searles knows that and sees that. And we develop behind the guys that are willing to give us their best shot. They're healthy. They're most consistent. And that's what you want. When you've got 5 guys you're trying to watch at the same time to simultaneously execute a play, you got to have consistency. Consistency is the number one thing you have to have. And if you don't, then that's what's going to have the breakdown. Because like I said, the majority of times I saw a breakdown in either pass pro, where we were not getting the ball out and getting our hand hit, or getting sacked, or having plays that were in the backfield, getting tackled behind the line of scrimmage or at the line of scrimmage, was breakdowns from the right tackle and from the right guard position as well. For the most part, center, left guard, left tackle did their job. Monroe Freeland had a couple of busts as well, but again, very minimal mistakes compared to what the right side of the line's doing. So however they want to do it, Juan Gaston, Dontrell Glover, Bo Hewley, can we not see Ernest Green come back to, his potential as well? Never know, because I don't know what his status is injury-wise. But I do know this. I'm not going to play Ernest Green at 85% when I've got guys that have a higher ceiling for the most part and are healthy and doing their job and being consistent with it. I hate that for EG3, but it's got to be done. You've got to have people to go out and consistently pass pro correctly and being able not to have the bust that we're seeing from the right-hand side, but also in the run blocking scheme as well. It's got to show in both areas. I was going to put up here for Randy, that second safety position is a relative weakness for this defense. Those young men have their skill sets, but the bottom line is they couldn't beat out the players. They were already there. I think that's an important concept. The way I look at it again is like, if they're playing those guys, Kyron Jones and Ja'Cory Thomas, that's your first two rotators. They think that those are the best two players they have shoulder to shoulder with KJ Bolden. And, even KJ Bolden struggled. I don't know if you realize this or not. He didn't have a lot of times where he was picked on, but the one time he was picked on, that was just not really good technique. He got basically caught in with eye candy on the digger. The dig route that was coming across, and what he had was the skinny post in front of him that he had to pass off to the other safety, and the digger came across, and when the dig hit right in front of him, he was occupied. He didn't get any more depth, and the backside post ran behind him. And I'm going to tell you right now, Joey Aguilar made a very good throw to that receiver. And it could have been one of those where he was basically, the all-time best looking passer in the world, or could have had the ball picked off, because if KJ gets back there and gets a little bit of depth, I think he's picking that ball off. But that's the way the play is run. They're wanting to occupy that safety's eyes to come up on that dig route. And then what you've got behind that is that post. And because Daniel Harris thinks he's got inside leverage help with his safety, that's why you see him on the outside hip, and why you see KJ just stuck in no man's land. And Joey Aguilar makes a great throw in that little seamed area. I mean, right through the mailbox to him. When we look at, let's see. Question, number 52 could have graded over 15%, and then you add in the Lopes. When I looked at his total grade, he had about a 40. I think he graded out at 47% for me, which is, very low. Just not very good at all. I go off PFF grades too. I look at what PFF shows because I like their baseline, but I do my own grading system, and he was definitely not up there. And I've been saying that for the last two games, and nothing against him. I mean, what is he going to do? He's got to go out and compete. He's got to go out and try harder. He's got to get better. He's got to get his feet better. He's got to come out of his stance quicker. He's got to show a sense of urgency, which is what I'm not seeing from him. And when you're at left tackle, right tackle, whatever it may be, you got to have a kick slide that's unbelievable to get back there on guys that are going to try to run the hoop on you. And you got to be able to stand people up, and you got to have strength in your lower body and have a good base and be athletic. Almost like if you're guarding somebody down in the post, you want to think about your lower body being in that position, that guarding somebody and maintaining sort of that stump mentality underneath as well. 225 girl, do you think our overall weakness for the DBs is defending deep balls going forward? I don't think it is. It's tough because when you're stuck in 50-50 land, you're on hips. And if you don't have any safety help over the top, like we saw with Janelle coming over the top of Dalen Everett on that one play because they were in a cover 3, that's something you like to see with your high safety, because he was basically as deep as the deepest receiver, came over the top and helped, and you had Dalen trailing. It seems like a lot of times we're going to be away from that, where you're going to end up getting one-on-ones with no safety help over the top. And what you've got to do, like Ellis Robinson, he's going to learn from here on out. He tried to anticipate the crease point of that receiver because he was turning his head and looking, and he thought he was beginning to put his hands up, and that's when Ellis went up and his momentum was off because the ball was so underthrown. What you do there when you've committed and you bumped into him and you basically created that scenario where it's pass interference, just go ahead and wrap him up and tackle him. Don't care that the ball's even there. You've already committed the penalty. You've already run into him. They're going to call the pass interference. You can't do anything about that if the ball's underthrown, because you can't anticipate an underthrown ball in that situation, especially because you are beat and he was chasing the hip back down, trying to get back in phase with the receiver. I don't think that's going to be something something that's going to be a problem. It's just very frustrating when you lose the 50-50 chances because you are chasing the hip and it's a very well thrown ball from the quarterback to the receiver. 9 times out of 10, if you do a good job staying on the hip like Kamari Lassiter did, you saw a lot of those 50-50 balls get knocked down, or, as the receiver goes up and puts up the V, what I call his crease point with his hands, that you shoot the hands up through the V right as he puts his hands up, and you want a PBU from that. What you really would love to see is if you have safety help to be able to come over the top and make the pick there in that situation. But when you're trailing on the hip in man-to-man, it's really hard to turn your head around. A lot of people want that to happen, but you can't do it, because if you turn your head around, that creates space. If you turn your head around for a split second, that extra half a yard of space is the difference of a great thrown ball being caught, you losing that side of that receiver, and they taking it in the end zone. So I don't think that's going to be a problem as we move forward. Yes, it always is. We don't locate the ball in the air. And like I said, it's hard to make people understand that when you are a defensive back coach and you're playing a lot of man-to-man and you're in press man, you're never, ever going to be in a situation where looking back at the ball is a good thing. You get a ball call, typically, if you're good enough as a coaching staff to do that, to make ball calls, that the ball's in the air, but you're watching the receiver. You got to watch what he does, because you're not in the point. What I would rather do is at the last second turn around and look if it's a situation that, I guess is situational. But if I've got a guy, I'm on the backside of 3x1, I have no safety help over the top. It's me versus him. And I've got the difference of him completing the pass and not completing the pass as either PI or at least getting a PBU. That's what I'm taking all day long as a defensive back coach. And I'm happy with that. If you have the athletic ability to turn your head around and be able to find the ball in the air and not lose space between you and your offensive receiver, that's a God-given ability that not a lot of kids have, believe it or not. And that's something that technique-wise is not being taught to do in man-to-man situations. How could we not be excited about London Humphreys? London Humphreys did a phenomenal job. A lot of people, I think, were really down on him because of his on the backside shoulder fade, on the slot fade that they ran to start with to try to convert a first down. There's nothing we can do about that. That's timing that's going to work and get better over time. And I thought London did a great job of trying to turn across his body to make the catch and actually pull it in. But, what a great opportunity for someone who's been blocking his ass off. He's been going out doing everything the right way, and getting the opportunity to help us win a ball game. Made a great catch on on basically what I call a Fox play, off a fast Fox play, and then of course the game basically tying touchdown off Zachariah Brandt's 2-point conversion. But just a beautiful play to me that will kind of go down in Georgia lore. This will be another one of those games. I mean, how many classic games have we gotten, guys? If you think about it, going back to the SEC championship, we go into overtime. We get the game with Georgia Tech, goes into overtime. Last few games we've played, I mean, we're looking at another overtime game here in Neyland Stadium. I mean, the Dawgs have been the cardiac dogs. They've done a phenomenal job. Coach Smart continues to coach them up. And honestly, we couldn't have picked a better situation for us to be able to say, we're 9-0 against the Vols. Coach Smart is 11-10-0 against the Vols in Neyland Stadium, and we're probably not going to play them again for about 3 or 4 years. So it's going to be nice to see the rotation once they decide to bring in the next group, but we'll have to see going forward. Yes, 4th and 6. 225 girl, it was 4th and 6 on that play. I appreciate you being in with the huddle tonight. I am Coach Hayes, Chris Hayes, as most of you know me as. I want you to catch me on all my social media accounts. I'm on Facebook, X, TikTok, I don't want to say Twitter, Instagram, and basically all the things that I do through my podcast are on Apple as well as Spotify. So catch me if you don't get a chance to catch me now. Yeah, obviously there's opportunities to catch me later. I thank you for being with me tonight. What I'm about to do is show a segment here on an offensive breakdown. And this is something I need your help with. If you see any situation that shows the go off air or there's something going on, please let me know in the chat, because I want to make sure, because I'm trying something different tonight and we're going to see what happens with it. But I hope you enjoy. This is the offensive breakdown from the Tennessee-Georgia game. This is certifiably insane, but I think we ran trap by mistake. And I'm telling you guys, the trap play is a great play, especially against when you have somewhat of an even front. It helps if you have a shade that's really more to the back side of the center here. But basically, I know somebody screws this up because the guard ends up pulling and kicking out the 3 technique, and I see that the H is wrapping for play side. So what I'm thinking is that we should have Ghost Trey coming on right here, Ghost Right Trey. But Michael Uni has to basically do one of two things. He has to down block and work this guy out and basically kick him out so that my guard that's pulling actually ends up kicking this guy, and then our H is wrapping for the play side backer. But what happens, because Michael Uni stays outside, we get a pull by Micah Morris, and he ends up trapping the 3. So these two work this up to this right here, and you have a great trap play. The only reason why the trap doesn't seem to work out of the gun because the trap is a quick hitter. But if we had a way to hand the ball off quicker downhill, which is basically like the duo concept, and we trap this quick enough, then you've actually got what you want. Watch this right here. Micah Morris pulling to hit this 3 technique as it comes across. It's amazing. You see the whap. Now you've got the inside release. The 3 technique thinks he's got a free release because you've got the inside up from Dontrell Glover. All of a sudden he gets kicked out, and now the play side backer who's on the play side to it is getting basically blocked by the guard that leaves the 3 technique. So you've got that and that. Now look at that. If he stays on his block and keeps him sealed a little bit, you can tell Delp's the wasted guy here because he pulls on this situation. And, I think we ran trap by mistake. I don't think it was meant to be actually a trap play, but still, this is what trap should be. Is it basically is taken care of by these 3 guys. You should get this with a down block up to the play side. He's going to trap the 3. He ends up staying out on the wide 5 or wide 9 now, and we're going to get the duo call down, and we've got a trap. We'll decide to do something like this because, guys, the trap play is a great play to run, but I'm almost positive that it's Trey counter because of the step by Phillips coming downhill, but it ends up being trapped because we trapped the 3. I don't know if I could ever get this excited over pass pro, but I am. So I'm going to show you real quick what we have here. We have a Louis call, which means to our right, everything is backwards. So I'm flipping it. I'm calling it based off what our offense is looking at. So you got Monroe Freeland left tackle, Micah Morris at left guard, Drew Bobo at center. You got Juan Gaston at right guard, and you got Michael Uni at right tackle. And everybody does a really good job here except for Michael Uni. And that's another one that we're struggling with. We got Ernest Green struggling. We got Michael Uni struggling. I've been calling out Bo Hewley for a while now that he's given us the most consistent tackle play that I've seen. I don't know what he's doing in practice that's not giving us the option to put him in more to start with at tackle versus the other 2. I don't know if they're just trying to trial by fire those guys or whatever it is. But this is improvement from Juan Gaston from the Marshall game. So what this basically does here, this entails 2 things. First off, with the Louis call, that means Drew Bobo and Micah Morris are working to our right, their left. Okay, Monroe Freeland's got the wide 9 out there. All right, and basically Gunner's got to take 33. If 33 runs through on a late deal, either the center's got to come off and take 33 if he's on play side to the Louis call. You can notice he's crossing over away from the actual call right here, which is a great defensive stunt to run him late across away from the actual pass pro Mike identification. So with him coming across the formation, this still makes Gunner responsible for 33. But what I love here is Juan Gaston doesn't panic because he sees the run through late by the play side backer. This is what he got in trouble for last time, is he would come off of that trying to think 22 was his responsibility and that Drew Bobo needed to come off and help him. Juan Gaston does his job to stay on his guy, and Dwight Phillips, man, I commend you here. You're sacrificing your body and getting run over slowly, but that slows up his momentum to make a good throw right here. And again, 33 is on Gunner. Responsibility of this, I know Drew Bobo sees him late, but you're not going to get all the way around on that loop outside the C-gap, Drew. You got to stay inside and help your guard right here if you're going to come off of this. Help Juan Gaston out because Gunner's got to make, he's going to make 33 right by throwing the ball before 33 gets there. If 33 gets there, then that's a coverage sack. But I love Dwight stepping up. Juan Gaston trusting his back to step up and take that run through B-gap. Michael, I love this play for so many reasons because what you're reading is the end man on line of scrimmage. Since he's an odd play, we have not run it to where we did stuff with Brock Bowers out of this formation right here where we would show that and jab off of that out of our split action. We have yet to do anything with that tight end sitting there eligible, but this is a tackle overlook. Basically, the way this is set up because of what they're bringing here on the Samfire coming off the edge is we end up running basically the power where Delp's going to be the kick out to this guy. He's going to slide down inside, which means Ernest Green has got to take him and drive him to the bus. Okay, these guys are doubling to the backside here. And what you should have on the backside is Juan Gaston is going to be wrapping to whoever shows up in this gap. But I want you to watch Ernest Green right here. And you say, well, what's so cool about this play? Well, if you're actually reading this in true form, is that you're typically reading the end man on line of scrimmage, which would be outside the tight end right here. This is a 9 technique. And because he comes down the inside and he comes off the edge as a wide 9, what you're doing is you're reading the in-man on line of scrimmage emo, which means that if this guy, whoever the in-man on line of scrimmage is, crosses face inside or sits, he sits right where he's at, then you actually hand it to the speed back coming across, which is Zachariah right here, and you got guys out on the edge blocking it like speed sweep. But because they're bringing this type of stunt with the outside Sam Fire, outside the 9 technique, and plus you've already got a guy lined up at 9 technique, then this is an automatic pull right here. So you can see that they pull. There's the kick out already. Here comes the wrap block. But guys, this right here is what kills this play. Ernest Green, I don't know what his deal is. I don't know if he's hurt trying to play with him being hurt, but he is absolutely not getting the job done at tackle right now. And unfortunately, we're trying to play him. If he's completely 100% healthy, then unfortunately I don't think he needs to be out there because he is just not getting it done. He gets himself folded up. That defensive end plays him off. It ends up bubbling him. Now Juan Gaston can't even climb to the backer because the guy that should be, right now be getting by Ernest Green, Juan Gaston's having to run by him because he should be climbing up to the guy that's in front of him, number 7. So that's the reason why this play is dead. Ernest Green getting thrown down like a rag doll off of this, and him coming back and making the play and bubbling this and causing all sorts of disruption. Can you imagine what would happen right there if Ernest drives his guy out of the play and Juan Gaston's got a free release up to 7 with Monroe on him too? Now he's one-on-one with number 2 up there at safety. So, just the difference of one guy busting the play here causing an issue. But I love the play called by Coach Bobo. We got to see it more often. Dang it, Nate. I've got you on this one, brother. This is all on you, my friend. You've got to be patient. When I sit there and watch what we've got here, we're running buck weak to the short side of the field, and we got exactly what we want. Delp takes the down on the 5 technique. Ernest Green is going to step out and be the first. He's got the kick out, and your center's pulling for the wrap. So what we want to have right here is play, one-on-one with a safety. All you got to do, Nate, is trust where your guys are at. You see hat high to the right, shelf right, and a guy outside. Put your foot in the ground and kick it back up inside. You got Micah Morris climbing to the next level, and now you're one-on-one with that guy that's back there on the hash behind the midfield judge right now. But instead, you outrun your block and run right into a tackler. It's like, I'm going to go find this tackler. I want him to tackle me. Good job. You tackled me. All right? I tell you, man, I had running backs all the time. They were the best tackler finders ever. And that's something you've got to get better at, kid. I know that you have great feet, very strong, very fast, but you've got to learn to be patient right here and put your foot in the ground and cut back up inside of this. When I watched it from the wide copy, I was amazed at the wide open space I saw for you to get tackled. And I understand why now watching it from behind here. You have got to be patient and fit this. You've got them set up perfectly. Put your foot in the ground, cut it up inside right here. Oh, my goodness. Hopefully you'll learn from this. I'm hoping Coach Crawford, I'm hoping everybody's on your ass about this one right here because this is one you definitely missed, and I think you know it now probably watching it. This is what I call a fill set, which is empty pre-snap. And what we're going to get down here on the bottom of the tree, running a 90 rail. We're going to run the 0 rather than 9. We're going to rail it with the 9. And then we're going to run flea 1, which is the number 3 receiver will be running a kind of a quick out or intermediate out on this. It's not really a true out because to me, a true, if you want to tag flea 3, flea 1, it really doesn't matter here. But this play is set up to go to London Humphreys. And this is on a 3rd and a fairly long. I think we're roughly at about 3rd and about 7, 3rd and about 8. To me, a lot of people are going to get upset because Lawson Lucky kind of gets held up here, but that inside backer doesn't know one way or the other if you're going to get run or pass. And I think if you engage like he is right here, you deserve to knock him on his ass. So everybody say, well, he's being held up, but that's what you do. In a 5-yard radius, second-level defender should have the ability to get hands on a receiver and be able to give them a little bit of a FU, which means you don't allow a free release. And right now, Lawson doesn't look like he's running a route. He looks like he's engaging a guy so that it can isolate the number 2 receiver, London, right here. And, guys, this is a time and throw. I think Gunner puts this in a good place. You're going to see just a slight push off from London Humphreys, which is not going to get called, but he's got to slow it down a little bit. He's running so hard right here. Either Gunner's got to do one of two things: throw the ball on a dime over the top and try to meet this. If he's going to back shoulder this, then London's got to settle down. I know a lot of people were giving London hell on this because he missed this ball. It touched his hands. Obviously, he's got to catch, but I don't think a lot of people realize how hard it is going full speed to redirect and try to cross back over your body and try to catch a ball that's completely outside your frame on the other side. All right, so I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. People dogging his ass for not catching this ball, completely irrelevant, because you saw what he did, obviously, late in the game for us to help bring the team back to tie it up, or actually to bring it within 2 so we could tie it up. So I'm not going to fault London right here. All I'm going to fault is the fact that we just need to practice that more. If we're going to run this play, this is something that we just got to work on our timing a little better. I would have thrown it over the top right here, because I think he's got him beat. Just to show you basically how this works. You know, you got to see he's already, because he's throwing it back shoulder, has redirected it here. And that's like I said, that is very tough to come back across your body and try to make that catch. This is something that makes us one play. So we're going to show zone left out of this with Chauncey going left, all 5 down, linemen coming across. But we're showing the split action of Delp coming back across, which a lot of times we will block with number 4, block that defensive end. So this is pure by chance, because we really feel like they're going to be coming downhill hard on zone. His response. So in this case scenario, you slip this, and what I call a split slip, and now you've got 2 guys because you brought Lucky across in motion as well. Honestly, I don't know why they actually run this play set up where they don't let Lucky get across the formation before they do this, because Lucky, all he's doing is taking first thread out. Delp's taking first thread in. He would be doing that anyway if he snapped the ball right off the tackle's ass. You know, as much as I said about the play here, Ernest Green coming across and doing a good job on his down to get down into the linebacker level and hold up that momentum. But great blocking on the perimeter by both your tight ends. They've been challenged for the last 2 weeks about their blocking ability out here, and this is what frees up a great run by Gunnar Stockton right there. Either one of them guys screw up their play right here, we don't have a touchdown on this run right here. So just a great play. You know, Ernest Green looks really bad on this play, and, you know, we're keeping 7-man protection in for a 3-receiver progression. We know where we want to go with the football. He already knows he's going to the right side with this. But I want to show you Ernest Green on this. As we take the actual snap, the defensive end right here, look how Ernest is overextending. He always talked about let the defensive end make the first move, because in this case, when you overextend yourself trying to get hands-on, you're overextending your body. That means you're going to fall flat on your ass because your leverage is not good. Your base is bad. So, you know, Ernest falling on this first play from scrimmage. Luckily, it was coming from the outside from a wide 9 that gives Gunnar time to wind up and throw the ball. Now, what I saw out of this was the hold up at the center guard combos. Micah, Drew, and Dontrell doing a great job, because I know he's been dealing with injury since it seems like forever ago. I know he came out against the Marshall game, didn't play in the Austin Peay game. Ready for him to be back, and I think that he's definitely someone we've got to count on to play this year. He's got to show up, but right now this ain't cutting it. And I don't know if it's because he's dealing with injury, if he's playing at 70%, 75%, but he has got to find his niche again of what brought him around, you know, 2 years ago when we saw him doing what he was doing as a freshman. So, you know, this is not going to cut it. You know, he can't extend himself. He's got to get the hands up as the defensive lineman engages. He's got to keep a firm base. All right, a strong base with his feet, but you can tell, you can see if I freeze it right there. See how extended he is? I mean, his knee, that does not look good when you're an offensive tackle right there. And the defensive end feels that pressure, so he spins off of it and leaves Ernest on his face right there. So again, not. Welcome back in. I hope you enjoyed that offensive segment. I have a defensive segment that I would like to play as well based off what I'm seeing right now. It looks like everything's flowing pretty well. I appreciate you being in the chat. I appreciate all questions, all concerns, all comments. I love to entertain everything that I can. I enjoy connecting fans to the fundamentals of football. I appreciate you guys taking the opportunity to check me out on all my social media websites, as well as my actual true website, Coach Hayes Hudl, spelled HUDL.com. As soon as I get on the phone with Mr. Sutton and Mr. Mathis and get the new merchandise coming in, really excited about the giveaways that's been going on so far. I've really had a chance to bless a lot of people with it, and it's been phenomenal. You know, just watching all these people get the merchandise that we're giving out. So it's been really cool to see that happen. I'm going to show you a little video insert here. First off, I wanted to show you the hit. Everybody wants to talk about this hit. I tell you what, it's been a long time since I've seen a textbook tackle like Raylen Wilson put on Joey Aguilar. To put your face in the V of the neck of the shoulder pad, single school, high school, college in America, and say, that's the way we used to tackle. But you don't have them doing that anymore. They want to come in there like a torpedo with that helmet. They don't want to wrap up. And this is how you form tackle. But Raylen Wilson did a lot more than just make this tackle right here, guys. Raylen Wilson is playing the most consistent inside linebacker position of really better than CJ right now. He's doing a really good job being sound, being consistent. Very excited about what he can do. And what I'd like to do now is show you on the defensive side of the ball some defensive breakdowns as well. Raylen Wilson being one of those breakdowns in this segment. So stay tuned to it. You know, I don't know if this is something they're wanting to do more of, but you got Dalen Everett in as the star right here. So he's manned up here. We're manned up here. He's got whoever shows first. He's got whoever shows second. So they're taking care of 1 and 2. He is free. He is free. Mike's got to be able to take the running back out of the backfield. I think we showed downhill duo type play action, so that makes him free. I think that's why you see him come delayed on this right here, but this is all on Dalen Everett right here, guys. He just doesn't do a very good job of getting in the hip and allows an inside slip on this little inside dig, and it's just pitch and catch right there on that. I wanted to show this play because this really bugs me. This is kind of a concept that's coming out of the duo concept, which is almost like a wedge. So what they're going to do is they're going to wedge our two guys that are lined up here. He's in a shade to the strength side, and then you've got a 3 technique here. So what they're going to do is you're going to get a double team on Griffin. You're going to get a double team on McLeod. And this is just basically 2 tight ends if you really think about it. You got 2 tight ends set. So one of them's going to kick and get him. One's going to get out here and kick out Chris Cole. And then you've got the tackle man-on-man right here off his fit. So realistically, it's almost wedged right up the middle. So it really becomes very confusing on where your linebackers can fit the cloudy clear, because what he's doing is he comes down here and gets the football. He's looking for the first gap that he can see. But what I want you to notice, and this is just coming from the fact of we were going to be tested by an SEC offensive line. I've got a good friend named Barry Hall who I coached with for a long time, played in the league for 5 years, and his friend from Middle Tennessee State is the offensive line coach at Tennessee. He's telling me a lot of things that he loves to do, and this is what you got is one of them is a wedge duo concept right here. But I look how high we are. You know, Griffin's getting moved off the football. McLeod's already gone to the ground. Quintavious is the only one who's attacking on the other side of the line of scrimmage. Gabe is too high. He's getting moved, and you'll see as he catches off of this, he's the only one that can make this play because KJ's got a fit from the outside in right here. Chris is staying blocked, not getting off his, but he's so high he's catching it right in the chest. That's something to me that helps you understand as a defensive line that you've got to learn to get lower, and you've got to be able to fight off your defenders, because in a lot of these, I can understand these two right here not making the tackle, but they've got to get big in those gaps and cause this not to have any kind of run lane. Gabe is too high, and where's my linebacker fits off of this right here? My linebackers, see how they're stuffed? There's nowhere for them to go because it's come off of the duo now to them, and now he's running to daylight. So both your linebackers are gone because of the cloudy clear fit, and now we got a guy making the tackle very high. I know as a coach I was frustrated with this because, you know, we're in zone. We're showing like a cover 5 look, but we end up converting it to a cover 3 look. So you got deep third. You're going to end up having deep third, and you're going to have deep third. What you're going to end up having is these guys kind of set at the hook curl levels. You're going to end up bringing Mike, and then you've got people that are playing the outside flat area right here as well. But, you know, this is all on Daniel Harris. This is something that's got to be taught and worked on tremendously, and I know that this is a drill they have to work on every day. But as the ball is pushed on the 9 right here, see, he's in zone. His hips are flipped, which is technique-wise for his cushion. They need to be flipped because he's pushing him on the vert. He's in great position the entire time. Now, I know he pushes on the inside stem. I don't know why there was that little bit of deliberation right there on that, but by the time he's at the 15-yard mark, he's pushing vertical. He might have been thinking post, so that's why he kind of jumped in front of it, but you can still react towards the post where his leverage is at. But right here, he's still in great shape. The one thing that I would love to see him do is he's got to learn how to play this like a center fielder, man. He's eventually got to forget about the wide receiver there, and he has got to put his foot in the ground and go up and get the ball like rebounding it, all right? So what happens here in this case scenario, and I hear Tennessee fans talking all the time about the, you know, pass interference where Janelle Aguero got the pick. They're letting them play, guys. They could have easily called push off right here by the offensive receiver as well. I saw it. Everybody else sees it on the replay, but they're letting these guys play, all right? But Daniel Harris has to be able to put his foot in the ground and play it like a center fielder or play it like getting a rebound right here. But because he lets his momentum take himself towards the end zone, that slight push off that the receiver gets him takes all his momentum out, and he makes a, kind of a basket catch there. But, my thing is that if Daniel has got to be stronger than that when he's in that position to be able to sit down, not continue to run to let his momentum take him towards the end zone, to actually step and put his right foot in the ground and go up and high point the ball instead of getting pushed off and then the Tennessee player making a catch out of his ass. It just kind of fell in his hands the way it did. But again, good play, good thought process, push us. 50-50 ball. That's why they call it a 50-50 ball, and Tennessee wins the 50-50 on this one right here. But Daniel got to learn to get up and get that football. They didn't waste any time right here on this play action look. When I see the first play from scrimmage is that sort of stretch zone look. Now they're just going to run the play action off of it. You're going to get an inside release. I think right here we're in a 2-match again, where you basically got 2 high. He's going to have to read 3 number 2, but what I see here, him running inside bracket coverage, and he's helping with the number 2. He's underneath it right here. So again, running match coverage to the field. He's in sort of a zone concept, just sitting here in the middle, more or less, to see what this guy does. If he ends up running on the inside, he knows he's got outside leverage to it. He knows he's got a safety on the inside to it. But what this is just a good sail route. This is a good 5 route by your wide receiver out of this play action. What Daniel Harris has got to learn to do, if he's chasing the hip down, he's in phase with him, doing a good job of staying in phase with him right here. Great route of setting him up on the inside. See how he's got his leverage outside? So Daniel's thinking his next cut, more than likely, it should be a giveaway. You teach your corners that if they push and inside leverage you, more than likely they're doing that for an outside cut. And again, he comes down to the outside cut on the 5 route. And what Daniel doesn't do, and this is something that, I don't know if he's got this ability to do this or not. But you can see here, he doesn't sink his hips at all. What you got to do, that's the reason why you talk about chasing the hip, because the hip will tell you where the guy's going. So when he sinks his hips to make his cut, and this is a hell of a route by your wide receiver and a good throw and catch from Joey Aguilar. I'm giving him props for this. Daniel's got to be able to see those hips and sink them too and be able to try to get right back into the hip bone. But he doesn't right here. He has to do a complete turnaround, and he is toast on that. This is more what I like to see in the run game. And I'm going to tell you right now, I'm seeing more out of him than I am out of him right here right now. I don't know why. In these first 3 series, he woke up as time went on. But I don't know what was in CJ's head right now. But I see a lot of confusion, it seems to me, that's not allowing people to play fast. In this case scenario, this is a very simple play. C gap, B gap, we're fanning out. These guys are going to be in B gaps. CJ is responsible for the A gap, responsible for the A gap. You're going to get Chris Jones coming down inside to B, and they're going to end up rotating him all the way across. And I think, when you look at it, Gabe Harris does a really good job of off this stunt to get back all the way across to make the play. But what I want you to watch is Raylen Wilson. Raylen Wilson does a hell of a job here blowing up this guy in the gap, because that's what you've got to do. When you hit him like that right there, that makes him immediately have to change his direction. Gabe is unblocked currently. You've got B gap, C gap. I wouldn't like to see to be moved so much, Xavier McLeod. I'd like for you to be right here where his foot is at, not being pushed out all the way to where Quintavious is at. But because we blow him up, we make the cut. CJ got to get off that block, and Gabe's got to get off that block. It's a little late, but Gabe makes that play based off that stunt. This is tough. This is a really good route progression by Tennessee. Does a good job of basically holding our safety, because we're in a 2-man look right here. You're only going to get 3 receivers on the progression. First off, you're going to give KJ Bolden eye candy and go inside on this fit, which Ja'Cory should be fitting that pretty well. Daniel knows, because he's got inside help. That's the reason why you see him chasing on the outside hip here. And, KJ Bolden just ends up getting stuck in no man's land. The dig coming across is what really puts him out of shape. And that's the reason why I don't like where his depth is at. I know at the goal line, you're typically thinking to yourself, I gain any more depth, it's a touchdown. So I would say if he had just had maybe another yard or 2 depth, that could have allowed him to see that inside quick post there on that. But because he sees the dig coming across, he gets caught in no man's land. He's not helping, because this guy's coming across with him on the hip. He's got to sit back and help Daniel on this near side for this run right here, which is what catches for a touchdown. I'm going to give props here, man. This is a good throw and catch and anticipation. It's one of those where it basically makes him look great, or it makes him look like the fool, because KJ sits in that gap area and see, he wanted to run with it and saw him go. Now he sees the crosser coming. He has no clue this guy's behind him right here. And like I said, he gets a little more depth. He ends up making that pick. But instead, he's in no man's land in this situation. And like I said, makes Joey Aguilar look really good right here because he's not covering anybody right now. If anything, I would have rather him seen him run with this and actually not anticipated this and let this get caught anyway. But since he's still in zone, he's got to anticipate that something's coming from behind, which is where it comes from. A good throw and catch by Tennessee right there. This is something I think we were trying to do, and we do a lot of this, is basically when you look at the wide side of a field, they're running match. So what they're basically going to do is whoever shows outside and whoever shows inside, these two match up to it, and he runs an underneath the zone underneath it to bracket it. Okay. On this side, you've got him on an island, Daniel Harris, and he's got to take number 2, which is this guy right here. Now, this is all on Kyron Jones being, just to be able to sniff this out a little bit better, to be able to get on his hip pocket. But, you've got Quintavious Johnson and you've got, I believe, Raylen Wilson right here that let him get a free release. I always talked about if you guys get a free release, typically that's going to hurt you more than it's going to help you. Now, I know they've got read keys that they're dealing with as well, but it seems to me that one of them two could get a little hands-on to help Kyron out. I know they're reading downhill on the play action. Raylen has to honor that. But Quintavious is pulling out right here. You can see that he's basically in a zone concept to the other side, playing underneath in the flat force defend area. If he pulls out right there, man, just give him a little shove, a little FU right there so he doesn't get a free release and allow half Kyron now, who's, I think, reacting way too late on this because he's got him man. They're basically running a match coverage up top to the wide side of the field, and Kyron can't get to him quick enough, and it's the first completion for Joey Aguilar. I'm going to go ahead and say it. I know that we're going to count on C.J. Allen as the year goes on. He's a veteran linebacker that plays the inside very well, but he did not have the greatest game against Tennessee. And right now, over 3 games, Raylen Wilson is outplaying him. Honestly, from this position, everybody knows the big hit that he put on Joey Aguilar. Hell, I was fired up too because it was a textbook tackle. You love to see just sort of that rub stomp right there, just bam, stopping momentum, like hitting a wall. Who wouldn't love that play? But here's a play that I'm talking about where you watch on film and how you get better to understand the concept here. What Tennessee is going to run out of this is just what I call ghost right tray. So you're going to get the guard that's going to pull to try to kick out Nnamde. You're going to have the H-back that should be wrapping through either A or B gap to take care of Raylen on his scrape right here. So what we're going to get, tackle's going to stay play side on JJA right there. We're going to get a double team to the back side, and you're going to have the tackle stay and not allow an inside release to that gap right there because your guard's pulling. You don't want to let him get inside big gap on you right there. Now, this is something I talked about is Nnamde has got to learn how to take on. We know he can rush the passer. We know how aggressive he's going to be from a pass rush standpoint. But, this is the part of the game that I said that is going to have to improve with him is being able to take on gap scheme, pulling guards because he's playing the jack position right now. Something I'd love for him to do is the guard pulls. He's got to be able to react to this quicker. I would love to him be right down at the bottom of the SEC logo taking on this guard right here because when you take this on, whether you're boxing it or spilling it, I would think that they would want to spill this because of the way it's fit right here, because of the tackle trying to get inside and you have safety help coming down for run support, because this is beautiful the way this is set up. He's fitting from inside out, he's fitting from outside in, and his job is to either box or spill it. And if he's going to spill it, he's spilling it to this guy. If he's going to box it, he's still boxing it to this guy. It's just a different angle for him to come down and make the tackle right here. But this is something that I want you to watch with Raylen. And JJA does a great job too as well. JJA gets off his tackle block right here and actually gets back up inside and actually dives at the running back to make him bubble. The minute he makes him bubble, that gives your linebacker, who's basically having to take on the trash from JJA, plus the H-back who is wrapped for him. I mean, right now you would think, I'm going to tell you this, Raylen Wilson makes this tackle. Look where he's at right now. Look at his hat. He's the one that makes this tackle. He's able to get up off using technique, pushing his hands down on a drill that they probably work on every day where you've got guys at your feet. You're taking your hands and shoving them in the ground, getting off of that block, and then going to make the tackle. Not only does he make the tackle, he stands his ass up, wraps him back with his safety for a good play. And now I wanted to close out tonight to show you this small video. Most of you probably seen it if you're a dog fan on pretty much any social media outlet, but this is Bo Hughley. And I just want you to watch this real quick, and I want you to try to understand, if you haven't had a chance to see this, how surreal this is, how important this game is, and why, as a coach myself, why I did what I do. because these kind of moments are the moments you live for, even in the regular season, when it's not the playoffs, when it's not the national championship, when it's not the SEC championship. Bo Hughley is somebody we're going to be counting on this year. It means something to him. The guy that's lined up, number 55, who's showing consistency at that tackle position. I want you just to watch this small video clip.
Me to life. Way to go, man. You were awesome. You were so good, man. So good. I told you, stay ready. I told you, stay ready. I love it. I love it.
You know, I'm not big into stats. I don't look at what we've done over the last 9 years. It's definitely something for the statisticians and the people who keep up with the records of things. But I really don't care, honestly, that we do have 9 wins in a row against Tennessee. It looks good on paper. It looks good for people who want to talk trash to one another. But I'm a realist because everything to me is in the moment as a coach. And I know that this win in Neyland Stadium in a very hard contested game with a program that I think is going in the right direction. We played a very good Tennessee team on Saturday, ladies and gentlemen. There is no doubt about it. And for us to be able to be road tested, to be pushed up against the wall, to be told that we weren't going to win in any regard whatsoever, and for Coach Smart to basically prove the naysayers wrong and come out and do their job, and to see our offense finally begin to show some productivity, our defense get humbled the way it should be, which is honestly what should have happened, to tell you the truth. I'm glad that the defense kind of got, in a sense, humiliated. That first 3 series, I mean, that was a reality check. What that does to me is that puts everybody back at ground zero. When you come into an open week and you know you're preparing for Alabama at home, we already know the demons that we're having to fight with Alabama. We know what Bama did this past week against Wisconsin. I really do think that we're going to have a very good matchup in Sanford Stadium with Alabama. And it just comes down to the fact you cannot look at storied history. You can't look at this. It's seemingly a generational curse we have with the University of Alabama. It comes down to those guys that are on the field doing their job, doing it the right way, executing at a high level, finding the best players that are going to win ball games for you, that are producing at the utmost consistency day in and day out. We do those things. It could be a fun night for us in Sanford Stadium when Bama comes to town. But the beauty of it, this week we get to heal a little bit. Open week is always where you work on you. You're not going to work on Bama very much, even though he'll say he's not working on Bama. They're probably still working on some personnel settings, how they're going to line up to things, pre-snap recognition, that kind of stuff. They're working on those things. But this is a week to heal. This is a week to get better within your own, between your ears, cerebral, and to work on becoming a better version of yourself and grow. I've always said good teams grow better as the year goes on and get better as the year goes on. Elite teams can actually evolve and adapt within a game, like we saw against Tennessee this Saturday, a team that looked very pitiful, to be quite frank with you, as we started, and came out at the end just wanting it just a little bit more and having things go their way. That's why you play the entire game to the last whistle. So very proud of our guys. I've thrown the little sub note up here, the top 25, the new AP poll is out. And, you know, I'm perfectly fine where Georgia is. You know, as always, we're going to have some Big Ten fluff up top. Ohio State needs to stay up there until something happens to them. I'm not sure about LSU. I think they need to be more down towards where we are in this sense. But, you know, let LSU be where they're at. Let Miami be where they're at. Honestly, to tell you the truth, all we can take care of is the University of Georgia. All these guys can do is take care of self, and those numbers will get better as time goes on. You've got to be able to improve upon, you know, that +1 mentality. You've got to be able to go in and be able to improve your own craft, what you do. So all these people we're talking about need to get better. They need to learn how to do this. That's what they're going to be working on, because guess what? They got scrutinized under the microscope in film room time this past week a hell of a lot more than what I just put them through in my little breakdowns. So you better believe that these guys are going to go out there and work hard to just improve upon their craft and try to improve upon their abilities as they move forward in their individual personnel groups. The one group, Mr. Jackson, thank you, sir. I appreciate the super chat for tonight. I didn't even have it on as a goal tonight for super chats, but I do appreciate your contributions to the huddle. Thank you for being here with us tonight. I really do think Penn State being at 2 is probably one of my weaker attributes, but again, they're going to continue to give them the fluff, the Big Ten fluff that they do. They really have done nothing to be there, honestly. Let Ohio State stay where they're at, but the team that I cannot believe that's still in the top 25 is Notre Dame. They're 0-2 right now, and they've played, 2 Power 4 programs in Texas A&M and in Miami. And, they've had the chance to play one on the road and play one at home, and they played 2 very close ball games. Their kicker obviously is someone that's right now probably having to be talked back off the ledge because of missing the kick that cost them at least the tie. But still, nonetheless, Notre Dame, to me, it is amazing to me that pretty much every team on that top 25, if they were 0-2 right now, would not be even thought about in the top 25. It's amazing to look down through that groupings of 2-1s, 3-0s, 3-0s, 4-0s, 0-2, and ranked in the top 25. It is insane. I cannot believe that Notre Dame is still ranked, and that was something I wanted to throw up there for you guys to see as well, because to me, whoever's voting Notre Dame in there, that just goes to show to me of why there used to be a computer-based program to basically lock everybody in their top 25, because I guarantee you right now, there's no way in the world that I would have that team in the top 25 until they could prove to me that they could win some more ball games. They don't have the defense this year. They lost their defensive coordinator to the NFL. They're not playing good defense this year. I just don't think they're the caliber team we saw last year, and they're 0-2 and still being ranked in the top 25 to me is ludicrous. So anyway, I do appreciate you guys joining the huddle tonight. It was a pleasure to bring you some defensive and offensive breakdowns. Please be sure and make sure that if you haven't had a chance to, hit that like button or the thumbs up button. Helps the algorithms out, as you know. I appreciate you taking the time to spend your Monday night with me. As always, I enjoy connecting the fans to the fundamentals of football. I would love for you to have the opportunity to send me any comments in the chat if you don't get the chance to catch me live and you catch the show later, to give me some comments down below. I would love for you to just leave me with anything your thought processes desire, from the Tennessee game to the what's upcoming in the next 2 weeks as we prepare for Bama in Sanford Stadium on September the 27th. I see some comments coming in real quick before I get off here. The SEC shorts with the Notre Dame kicker trying to hide is hilarious. I saw that too, man. You can't ever go wrong with the SEC shorts group, man, doing what they do. It's phenomenal. I think that's what's important to understand, is that we grew up on Saturday in a way that most people don't understand. Most people just look at it as a ball game of, circumstances. Things happen for a reason. We got the better end of the draw, and the team that won, it could have gone either way. I think Tennessee did outplay us in a lot of regards, but it just turned out when it came down to it, we made the right turns when we needed to. We executed to get the touchdown from London Humphreys to get the 2-point conversion to tie. They played a little conservative there at the end, cost their kicker, to send it wide right in a situation that's really tough because of the sample size of plays he gets to do when all eyes are on him to try to kick to win the game. But, he comes back in and kicks the field goal to put them up by 3. Doesn't realize the defense is going to give up the touchdown to Georgia, and we find a way to win the ball game. And that's what good teams do, is they work their way to greatness throughout a season. I'm always willing to take the mistakes and be able to correct those in practices and in film sessions, that if I can see my team improve each week and become the elite status that we want to see them at by the end of the year, that's the sign of a good football team. That's the sign of a well-coached team. And I can't really put anything else beside that as we prepare for Bama coming up in 2 weeks, that we are improved upon from what we've already done at the Tennessee game. But it helped both sides of the football, both offensively and defensively as well. Guys, I appreciate you being in the part of the huddle tonight. I do want to thank you for all the contributions for people who have helped out through the raffle, through my CoachHayesHuddle.com website. And for those of you who have won some of the prize merch that I've given away, I really do thank you from the bottom of my heart for everything that you do for me. Please make sure that you check out my live show this Thursday, as I'm just going to be basically doing a little bit of a preview of Bama and basically just around the SEC in general. I won't be doing anything necessarily about, Bama and Georgia just yet, because obviously we won't be playing this Saturday, but I'm still looking to do some SEC preview, still looking to do some X's and O's. And I definitely thank you for being a part of my show tonight. With that being said, appreciate all of you out there that support. Take care. God bless. Good night. And as always, go Dogs.